Mexico won the CONCACAF Nations League. Let's go. We're qualified for the Copa America. Super excited. Choke on that. Mexico is back, baby. But we're not exactly here to talk about Mexican football. We're here to talk about the retrospective rankings. Welcome to episode 2 of Retrospective Rankings, where I rank every single Ninja Warrior show that came out in a specific year, looking back now with hindsight. In this episode, we are going to be doing 2014 and 2015. Let's get right into it with 2014. I should have done 2014 in episode 1 because the list is so small. It is just 2 things. So at number 2, I've got Sasuke 30, and at number 1, I have A&W 6. Now, why are there only 2 shows on this list when others were filmed or started airing in 2014? Quite simple. They finished in 2015. In 2014, we only had about half or less of other seasons of shows, and because the finales were in 2015, they're going to be on the 2015 list. Which means we just have these 2. I don't really care for Sasuke 30. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I think it's kind of lackluster. I think Tomo's final appearance is probably one of the weakest final stage appearances of all time, and I wasn't really blown away with anything because the course wasn't really different. I'm not going to go on record and say that it's the worst tournament of all time, but it once again is a pretty disappointing tournament, especially for an anniversary. On the other hand, I really love A&W 6, and I will never understand the hate for it. This is around the time where people started to get upset about fluff pieces, but honestly, there was so much to pack into Season 6 that they were worth sitting in the moments. Casey, Michelle, Megan, Kevin Bull's run, Joe and Ellett on stage 3, like there was so many highlights of this season that you really can't say that it wasn't warranted. You also had shocking fails because Flip and Drew going down that season was not expected at all. In reality, A&W 6 is the turning point of the show. Yes, this is when it starts to transition into newer tropes that people start to complain about in season 7 and onwards. Personally, I still think this is a great season. Finally, a list with more than 4 entries. In fact, we have 8 ninja shows in 2015, and coming in dead last is Ninja Warrior Turkey. This show was rigged, the pacing was terrible, the format is still confusing to this day, maybe because we don't speak their language, but also, if you can't follow a ninja show properly, they're messing with stuff behind the scenes. The obstacles were also just poorly built. They were trying really hard to imitate A&W, as many of these shows were this year, and it didn't exactly work out. The same can be said for number 7 on the list, Ninja Warrior Denmark Season 1. The only reason this is higher is because it wasn't rigged, but the fact of the matter is, when you put people who have never done Ninja Warrior before on A&W style courses, they will do bad in their first attempt. That's not to say A&W is harder than Sasuke, but because A&W requires a more diverse skill set than Sasuke, I think that competitors have a harder time adjusting on the first attempt and trying to adapt to all of these different techniques. I remember watching this on YouTube and I felt no oomph to it, whereas all of the other ninja shows have a little bit of oomph, that extra music, better camera angles, better lighting, etc. That's what Ninja Warrior Denmark is missing. And it's also missing period right now. If you have any episodes of Ninja Warrior Denmark, please send them my way. I am trying to find and recover them. Coming in at number 6 is another show that tried to directly copy A&W. It is X-Warrior from China. X-Warrior originally did not have the Ninja Warrior license, but they were threatening being sued, so they got the license anyways and wrapped up their season. They also had the first true versus the world in that season, with a lot of OGs coming back. It's the last televised appearance of Brian Orozco. But besides that, X-Warrior was literally just a copy-paste of the format of A&W with direct copies of A&W 5's courses. And honestly, it wasn't that special, especially because no one was really that good, but it did give us one of my favorite ninjas of all time, the debut of Jean Tézenos du Moncel, who we see later in Ninja Warrior France. Coming in at number 5 is the first European show to air, Ninja Warrior Sweden Season 1. Ninja Warrior Sweden really started off the precedent of splitting up Stage 2 into the timed portion of Stage 2, and then putting like 2 or 3 Stage 3 obstacles into the untimed portion of Stage 2, and I don't like that. A decade later, that format is still being used, and that's not my favorite thing in the world. On top of that, it was just taking it way too seriously, it felt. There were times where it felt like they weren't trying at all, and it felt times where they were trying to treat this like this Oscar-worthy movie or something, and it's Ninja Warrior. Come on now. The clashing tones and the lack of talent, because it was their first season doing this, really led to some boring episodes. But overall, I thought it was decent. They tried to really recapture the spirit of A&W and Sasuke by extension, and just didn't fully get it. A show that in my opinion got a little closer, which is why it's at number 4, is Season 1 of Ninja Warrior UK. It has pretty much all of the same problems as Ninja Warrior Sweden that I mentioned earlier, but it was a little more lighthearted, it was a little funnier, they had some jokier competitors, and I personally didn't hate that, unless they went overkill with it. There are times where, when I'm watching Sasuke, a joke competitor here and there is a good time. But if you get too many of those in a row, it really starts to drag, and that's what happened on this show. Besides that, I thought it was alright, and it had Tim Sheaf going for it back when Tim Sheaf was cool. That means kicking off our top 3 is Sasuke Vietnam Season 1. I think this show had more going for it because it was a Sasuke spin-off. It was inspired by Sasuke and not by A&W. As I said before, I think that you can be a little more straightforward in your training for Sasuke than for A&W because there's so many more different skills utilized in A&W. So I think we saw better results on Sasuke Vietnam overall because the competitors had a better chance of succeeding on the similar types of obstacles. On top of that, we had some international competitors come in and they performed pretty well. Now, I don't really like this season. I don't really think this is all that good, which is saying something because it's number 3 for the year. It is still 20 episodes and 10 of those episodes are stage 1. It gets very repetitive and drags on quite a lot, but still overall gave me some quality runs in each episodes, which are more than the ones below that on the list. So it's number 3. I don't think it's really a surprise what our last 2 are. Number 2 is Sasuke 31. I like Sasuke 31. I would say it's a pretty good tournament. I'm not going to go on to say it's great or anything. Obviously, Yusuke's Kanzen does give it some brownie points, but for me, it was Hitoshi Kano clearing the crazy cliffhanger that really got me amped. I honestly think that the tournament is not bad, but it is largely carried by those 2 moments. So, in terms of Sasuke tournaments as a whole, it's pretty alright. In terms of Kanzen tournaments, I think it's on the lower tier, but still a good time, and it made me a fan of Yusuke, so shout out Sasuke 31. And then number 1, no surprise, is going to be A&W 7. Coming off the heels of A&W 6, I don't think that the highs were as frequent, but they were just as epic as A&W 6. We saw some great comebacks from competitors, we saw some breakout rookies, we saw some awesome runs throughout all of the qualifiers and semis, and I think the course designers also really zeroed in what their style was for A&W moving forward. Of course, a lot of people have this thought about Jeff not getting any money while Isaac did. I definitely share that sentiment. I think Jeff should have gotten paid something, but still a great finale, and it was great to see so many big names attack Stage 3 especially. Stage 3 is my favorite stage, so to see all the stars really on there was a lot of fun. A lot of people consider A&W 7 to be the last good season of A&W, and while I disagree with that, it really was a great season, and that's why it's number 1. So there you have it, Retrospective Rankings Episode 2. Join me next time for Episode 3, where we hit 2016, which is a pretty long list. From 2016 till present day, the lists get pretty long. So I'm excited. I'll see you guys soon.